Namaste, Swagatam. There are 30 million people of Indian origin spread across 189 countries today, from Mauritius, Fiji, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago to Malaysia, Japan, Brazil, and of course the US, UK, Europe, and Australia. How does the diaspora connect with Bharat? How do they keep the emotional bonds alive? What are the challenges, and how has each community circumvented it? The Student's Handbook of History of Indian Diaspora by Professor Dr. Neerja Gupta ji, Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, is a good starter for those keen on this subject. Meanwhile, let us speak with Kirtie Algoe ji to know more about diaspora Hindus in Suriname. Kirtie Algoe is a doctoral researcher and lecturer at Anton de Kom University at Suriname. Her publications focus on religious diversity in the Caribbean and the role of the government and politics. She is currently doing research on qualitative methods and elections in the Caribbean. She combines her academic work with sports. She has been practicing martial arts for over 20 years and is an active board member of Suriname Olympic Committee. Suriname is a multilingual, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious country located on the northeastern coast of South America. It has the second largest share of Hindus in this region, after Guyana. Suriname has the largest religious diversity also in the Caribbean and Latin America, and it is among the three carbon negative countries worldwide, others being Panama and Bhutan. In 2025, Suriname celebrates its 50th year of independence from the Netherlands. Congratulations.
Thank
Namaste,
you.
Kirti ji. Swagatam. We have a lot of questions for you today.
Thank you so much, Kavita ji. Thank you for providing this platform and this opportunity for me to speak. I want to say on behalf, but from my experience with the Surinamese country and to some extent with Guyana and a little bit Trinidad.
Thank you so much. Kirti ji, first of all, you're a martial arts practitioner. I'm so excited to hear that. And also, you're on the Olympic Committee. Which martial arts form do you follow? And do many Surinamese Hindus take to sports like you do?
Okay, so that's a very difficult question because I'm practicing taekwondo, which is a Korean martial art, and I did it for almost 10 years when I fell in love with pencak silat, which is an Indonesian martial art.
Oh, what is it?
So
Sorry, I don't know of that.
pencak silat,
Okay.
pencak silat, that
Penchant.
isn't in the from origin. It's an Indonesian martial art, and as you mentioned in your introduction, Suriname is multi-ethnic. So part of our indentured laborers did not only come from India but also from Indonesia, and those people they came with the knowledge of pencak silat. And as I was working on university, I met some colleagues who were practicing it. It was so beautiful. I fell in love with it. With regard to your second part of the question, what do Hindus mostly the practice in terms of sports?
Mhm.
Well, I think they are scattered in the country in terms of sports, but you will find um, an impressive representation of Hindustani, not only Hindu but Hindustani people in Kusti.
Oh,
So
yes.
we have
Wrestling.
Kusti here, yes,
Wow.
yes, and also dance.
Uh-huh.
We have various dance school organizations who are promoting Hinduism in the form of dance, Bharatnatyam as well. And the most interesting part, at least from my academic point of view, is that they teach the Hindu philosophy in a very positive way to both Hindus and non-Hindus or non-Indians who join the class.
Wonderful.
I recently met one of the dancers a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, I think. Oh my God, time flies. A few weeks ago, and she was telling me that there was a maroon or Creole student. So these are originally from Africa. Their descendants from Africa,
Mhm.
and they joined the class and they started to do the Om
Mhm.
and some yoga poses in the class without directly the Hindu philosophy, but spontaneously they started to do that to the teacher, and the teacher said, I never forced them to do the Hindu the Hindu elements during the classes. That shows the strength of the Hindu philosophy, but also the way the local landscape adapts to its population.
This is so heartwarming to know, Kirtiji, because I know that when people learn yoga, sometimes they would be like, don't teach us any of the Hindu stuff. I've been in other countries where some people might object to it. But here you're saying in Suriname, not just yoga, but also something like dance, classical dance, or even Bollywood dance schools have this. And it's very heartwarming to know. And coming to the Indonesian martial art, I would guess because Suriname is a Dutch colony, and Indonesia was also. So perhaps there are a lot of indentured laborers that came maybe along with the Indians or much before that or after from Indonesia. So that's an interesting fact to know that there are a lot of Indonesians or people of Indonesian origin in Suriname. But your ancestry is from Bharat. What are your feelings for this country, Kirtiji, for India? How do you imagine it to be? Have you been here?
No, I haven't been. Unfortunately, not. I've been focusing on my study till 2017, and after that, I focused on my family. I'm now mother of two. One year and 3 year. So it was, and sports, of course. So I didn't really get a lot of time to focus on developing a strong bond with Bharat. But I must say that the link with Bharat just comes in our culture, in our upbringing. When you grow up with Bollywood, you grow up with the radio songs, you go to mandirs and people and the pandits, they use both languages, Hindi and Suriname, which is the local version of, I would say, the
Okay.
local version of Hindi.
Hmm.
So yes, Bharat is familiar. It's part
Hmm.
of our worldview, but it is in my particular case, it is not the same as Suriname. So it is
Of course.
something you refer to. You know that you come from there, but Suriname is a country where
It's your
you develop.
motherland. Yeah, you were
Yes,
born there, so you have attachment. And maybe when your youngsters, your children are much older, you could visit us, and we'd be very happy to host you. So,
well,
but we were very curious. Sorry.
we will.
Yes, please do. Please do. You're welcome. And I was curious to know, as to your growing years in Suriname, and the love for Suriname that you have is so evident. So we would love to know what it was like growing up there as a Hindu.
Well, I must say that my parents were quite conservative. We
Mhm.
grew up in a conservative family in the sense that as a girl and a young woman, you are not supposed to mingle with all type of people. You do not go outside. You don't go to parties. So that kind of protected environment you grow up in, and religion is a strong pillar in the upbringing. So you develop a written, or not of them, a routine of praying and observing religious holidays, cultural holidays. So that is part of our upbringing. But when you grow up, you develop, what I would call the spirituality. Then you know that all the sanskars, whether it is that, not the the pujas we have every year, because we used to have puja every year.
Oh,
Oh yes, so the pandit comes. Sometimes it is during Navratan or after Navratan. Then the pandit comes and he tells a little bit about the Hindu background. And during the puja, you have Pitra. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but you have
that's right.
a Pitra part where
Yes,
you where you
ancestors,
do some offerings to the ancestors.
forefathers. Yes.
Yes, and then the Pandit explains you that we are praying for the peace, for
Mm.
their peace of soul, and uh, they are our source. So yes, it was growing up in an environment with strict rules, norms, values for boys and for girls, but at the same time trying to adapt to the challenges of daily life. Because as we grow up, we realize that the position of men and women, while different, sometimes it's not equally valued. So my mom was very strict about it. So you make sure that you get your diploma. That's your first husband. So finishing your school, getting a good job was a non-negotiable part of the upbringing. And I was really interested in martial art. I don't know if you know the movies of Charlie's Angels. Oh, that
Yes,
was
yes.
so. So that was really inspiring. I said, Mama, I want to do martial art, and at that time I was almost 18. She said, let's see how it goes. And the first time I was introduced to martial art, it was I was a bit younger. I was 13 years, and my mom and my dad they brought me to a school where most of, or no, not most, all of the athletes, they were males and black males. So my mom said, "This is not going to work. You are
Not
not
many
going."
women.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Not only male dominated. I'm not going to leave my daughter here. So when I grew up, I was 18, almost 18, and I was in high school. One of my friends then, she said, "Hey, I'm doing taekwondo. Do you want to join?" At that time, I'm not living in the capital. I'm living in Komorweneri, which is for which you have to cross the river. Fortunately, at that time we had a bridge, so we were not dependent on the ferry. So my mom said, "Okay, we will see how it goes, but you are not going alone. You are going with your brother." So my mom admitted my brother, and myself in the school, and we got enrolled. And since then, I became part of the family. That was not an Indian family. That was a multi-ethnic family. And you know what the most beautiful experiences of that school is that my my instructor, who is not Indian but sociologist, he always taught me to be respectful about my roots, to respect my parents, to respect the Indian culture, and to know um, how to voice my criticism about the upbringing. Because when we grow up, we have all kinds of remarks about the upbringings. We try to
Yes,
rebel and
yes,
so on.
yes, yes.
But he was always there to guide us and say, no, be polite, always respect your parents, know where you come from, respect your roots. So that part of respect for Indian culture came from a non-Indian cluster of
He was
people.
Korean or he was Indonesian?
No, he was what we call Creole.
Creole.
Creole, yes, those are people with mixed ancestry.
Okay.
Some, but a significant part from Africa.
Oh, wow. And that's so wonderful to know that they instilled that love for the roots, for your roots in you, and wanted you to respect it. So you've had
True.
a good mentor and a guide. So,
Yes.
how do the Surinamese Hindus, since you said that it was very important, religion was an important part of our upbringing, how was it kept alive? So, you have the mandirs, you have the parents, and you said once a year or twice a year the priests would come home or you do the pujas. Is that about it, or there was something on a daily basis? Did you have prayers on a daily basis? Did you go to something like a Sunday school, or did you have any classes?
Okay, so it is hard to say about the whole population, but I can tell from my experience in my own case. We went to Hindi school because when I was young, I think it was 8 years or 9 years, there was this Hindi teacher on the school where I was going, the primary school. They really asked the parents, especially the parents in the neighborhood, to send their children to Hindi school, and that was a very interesting opportunity because it broadened my horizon on literature. Most times we are exposed to just Western curricula, and that is to some extent limiting because it doesn't really incorporate the connection with the soul of your culture, whether it is
Yes.
religion or language or whatever. And if you have a larger lingual capacity, if you can understand more languages, the more worldviews you are confronted with, and you can develop a stronger sense of identity. So that happened in my case.
So आप
um
हिंदी बोलती हैं? आप हिंदी बोलती हैं?
uh, Thora, Thora.
थोड़ा
But
सा.
I do understand. I do understand. I cannot speak
Okay.
fluently. My Hindi, मेरी हिंदी बहुत खराब है. So
आप अच्छी अच्छी हिंदी बोल रही हैं. नेक्स्ट टाइम अगली बार हम ये जो वार्तालाप है हम हिंदी में करेंगे. पार्ट
I
2
can,
विद
हाँ, but
कीर्ति आलगो जी.
I can speak in Suriname. हम Suriname हम Suriname में बोल सकेला.
बोल सकते
Suriname,
हैं.
which is more is fluent, is more fluent,
Oh.
and it's you know
So
Hindi
Suriname
is
has
too
a lot of
somewhat
Hindi,
formal.
and what else does it have? Suriname is the Hindi in Suriname, or it has more other words from other languages?
No, Suriname. Suriname is
Sarnami. Uh-huh.
Suriname, ha, Suriname. It is, we call it popularly the Surinamese Hindi, but it has a lot of influence of the Hindi language, but
Uh-huh.
also other dialects,
Okay.
including local non-Hindi languages like
Dutch.
Dutch,
Uh-huh.
Sranantongo, which is the lingua franca in Suriname.
What is the name?
Uh,
Sorry.
Sranantongo.
Stranang
Sranantongo.
Tong.
Tongo.
Tong.
Tongo, yeah. Sranantongo, that is the
Stranang.
lingua franca in Suriname
Okay.
that has developed from the interactions of different cultures here.
Okay. So
So,
Sarnami would have all this. It would have Hindi, Dutch, and Stranang
yes,
Tong. Okay. And
Sranantongo,
English
yes.
also.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. So yes, so I grew up with Hindi language. I went to dance classes, Bollywood, but also classical dance. We did some drama as well.
Hindi.
We had an Indian teacher in Suriname who he was so handsome at that time. I was a young girl, but I know that these bigger people in the group, the elders, they were so talking about his appearance. He was so handsome and he could dance so beautifully. And I said, okay. At that time, I had no sense because I was eight
He
years,
was
9 years.
Surinamese, or did he come from India?
No, no, no. He was originally from India, but I think his parents,
Uh-huh.
his
He
parents were
settled.
yeah, they settled here, but they were entrepreneurs. So he got married in India as well.
Sad for
So
you.
well, not for me, but for the elders. But so I did some classical dance, also Bollywood dance. And what we also had is yeah, not every week, but we would go to the mandis very often.
Mhm.
In the community, there was not a lot of attraction. There were not many. There were not many events for keeping people connected and active. So the mandir was a very good
Center.
platform where people could go and see and meet and have some connection with each other. It was a social event,
Mhm.
but also a religious cornerstone of the community. So we would go with the mommies and the cousins and so on.
Is it
That
same for the youngsters now? Like, do the youngsters also do that? The young Surinamis nowadays,
time,
is
no,
that what holds them together to the Hindu Sanatana Dharma culture?
that was in the past. So that was in my time. I'm now 40 years old, so I'm talking about my, when I was a teenager,
Mhm.
from 8 years old, young and teenager time. But now, from what I have understood is that the 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 attendance of the mandis
Hmm.
has dropped significantly, and to such a
Oh.
point that the pandits are very worried.
Mhm.
I had a meeting with not meeting the former head of the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha,
Mhm.
and we discussed an idea to do a research on the religiosity of Hindus,
Hmm.
to see and to find out the obstacles for going to the mandir, because the mandir, it remains an important part
Hmm.
of upbringing,
Everybody.
socializing, and
Yes.
instill the Hindu values
Mm.
in an era where we are increasingly overwhelmed by knowledge, unwanted knowledge through the
Information glut of cyber rot. It's called
clutter.
cyber rot. Yes.
A lot of
It is
clutter,
a
and it,
club.
yes, it's not always good for the development of your
Yeah.
own identity and for the perseverance of yourself. So we wanted to do a research, but due to other circumstances we could not do that.
Mhm.
Maybe we will do it later this year. But the idea is that we must do something serious about the low attendance of Mondays in general. It is not on religious holidays, because on religious holidays most times the Mondays are full.
Yes.
But I think part of the problem is that the new generations parents,
Mhm.
they are not that conservative about religious upbringing anymore. They have
The
other.
mothers are not as strict as your mother was, or the other
No,
mothers were.
no, no, no. Religion is not the only cornerstone anymore. You
Yes.
have sports, you have social events, you have social media, and
Yes.
what is also affecting Suriname is the crisis. We have been in an economic crisis since 2017, 2018,
Oh.
and that has hampered the space of parents be um, to be a religious guardian in the
Yes.
family. So
Mm.
it's difficult. Yes.
So I have a question about the past, and I was curious to know how the Girmityas, when they first came in 1873, they came on Lalarook, and the ship brought them to the capital, Paramaribo. How how do you the following generations, how do they know about what happened then? Are there diaries, are there historical accounts, have there been photographs or short videos, small films? Is any literature available for a person, let's say such as yourself, to know about your ancestors, the Girmityas who first came to Suriname?
Very, very good question. We have, I would say, in my opinion, that there are some strong cultural organizations who annually observe what we call the Indian Arrival Day, which is on the 5th of June. It's not a national holiday, but it is when it's 5 years or 10 years. So specific days, then it is a national holiday. But on those days, they reflect on the first ship, the first indentured laborers in Suriname that
Mm,
came with the Lalaruk
mm.
in 1873, and at that time 410. I think I have to check. Yeah, 410 passengers came,
Okay.
and so the organizations are one. The other thing is that we have a museum. It's called the Lalaruk NS
Museum.
Hat. We have a museum with exhibitions, especially on those days. We have exhibitions, but we also have songs. We have
Okay.
songs. We have literature. We have radio stations in Hindustani radio stations where regularly programs on the historical past, especially with reference to the Lalaruk ship and the first Indian indentured laborers, are discussed. So in that way, we are exposed to our past. That's of course that's outside the official curricula, but
Mm-hmm.
on schools we also have um, various courses, whether it is history or religion, um, or other social subjects, that the lecturer has the information on the historical past of every ethnic group in Suriname, including
Oh,
the Hindustani. So that is
wonderful.
also covered by the official curricula in education.
So you all are made aware. So that's wonderful. There's a museum and you're part of it, and everybody listens in class, the curriculum. So it's good to know that the roots have not been severed in that sense. But coming to your own, the books that you have written, because whatever is in the museum has been documenting the indentured laborers that came in the 19th century. But in 2022, here you are. You have written this book, Religion, Power, and Society in Suriname and Guyana, Hindu, Muslim, and Christian Relations, published by Routledge. Can you please tell us what prompted you to write this and how long did you research for it? How was it received in Suriname?
Okay, so let me start with the first part. I was interested because the Caribbean is among the parts of the world where we do have a relative harmony between religious groups. Relative because there has been no records of genocide. You will have some small clashes, but in terms of intense conflicts, no, it's not in the Caribbean.
So you're
And
saying, sorry, you're saying Hindus, Muslims, Christians, or the
yes,
other
yes, no,
ethnicities
no. The three major religious groups, so
okay.
Christians, Hindus, and Muslims. The connections between these three major religious groups in the Caribbean are relatively harmonious. And as you know, the Caribbean is a region that has profited from colonial experiments,
Mhm.
from colonial interests. It did not exist like, Asia and other parts, Europe and other parts of the world. So we are actually a project from colonialism where people from all parts of the world were brought to, and they had to find a way to deal with each other in a setting of colonialism with Christian superiority. So I wanted to know about the forces that shaped that that idea of connection between each other. So what I did is comparing Suriname and Guyana, because Suriname and Guyana have the largest share of Christian, Hindus, and Muslims all together,
Mhm.
and of course Trinidad as well, but Guyana has a bit more
Mhm.
Hindus and Muslims. So I looked at both countries and I looked at the colonial context and tried to explain the relative harmony between the three religious groups. So in that book, I discussed the various periods of political development. I
Mhm.
looked at religious leadership, but I also looked at dynamics
Mhm.
within the religious organizations, such as the emergence of what we call the new evangelical churches, the Pentecostal churches,
Okay.
which are globally growing, they are expanding, most times at the cost of the membership of other religious organizations, often classical or Orthodox Christians, but also non Christians. And what I have seen is that, especially in Guyana, the new evangelical churches, they attract a lot of Hindus. In Suriname, they also do, but in Guyana, it is more in this, at least at the time of my research. And that
You're
is
saying they
creating,
convert? Sorry, I didn't get that part. You're saying they try to convert in
yeah, they
Guyana?
are trying to convert. Yes, not only that, they are converting Hindus, and that is creating a field of tension. Because when you are converting other people, especially exploiting their circumstances, especially the poor circumstances of life, then it means that you are not having an equal field of connecting with each other. So it is creating a tension in interreligious relations. And I also found the same development in Suriname, but in this, not in the same nature, not in the same intensity.
Okay.
So I offered to sum up, I offered a framework for understanding the interreligious relations in Guyana and Suriname from 1950 to 2017. Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I looked at that part, and yes.
That is wonderful documentation of a country, and also Guyana, you said. So it is a great study, and for all of us to understand how this colonial project took off, but how the inherent values in the people there, especially the Sanatanis, have helped keep the religious acceptance alive. But it is being threatened now with uh, conversions, which is the same in India. We're also facing that. But
Okay.
demographically, I have seen that I think after Guyana has 25% as of what we have on available on the net, 25% Hindus and 22 in Suriname. So this could change in the future, you're saying, because of these conversions. The demographics could change, you're saying.
Yes, it can change. It can change, and I think it's an area of concern for the Hindus across the Caribbean. They are worried about sustaining their religion,
Is there
and
any political support for the Hindus, or are there much? Is there much political representation from the Hindu side?
yes, I think in both countries, historically, the Hindus have been able to gain political representation at the highest level. Especially now, we have a Hindustani, a Hindu, I would say a Hindu president, and but he has to balance his role because as a Hindu president, you have to make sure that you are fair and just as a president to the whole nation, which is
Yes,
multi-ethnic, which is multi-religious.
true.
So yes, that is support, and but from my, and I will be somewhat critical about it. From my view, the link between religion and politics sometimes can hamper the trust of local people in religious leadership. In the past, religious leaders, they were also mobilizing people uh, to vote for particular candidates. Most times, candidates from the own religious community or own ethnic community, which is understandable from a historical perspective and political power struggle. But if you look at the way Suriname is evolving right now, there is a huge concern about the match between, on one hand, representation of a particular culture or ethnic group and the required expertise. So you must have a fair balance between expertise and ethnic or cultural religious representation in order to run the country. We have had of in the past what we call the constitutional democracy, which is a democracy based on the representation of the elites of religious and cultural groups at the highest level. But that not automatically result into a better progress of the country, whether it is policy implementation, evaluation. And that is worrisome because Suriname, I'm not sure if you are aware of it, but um, after Guyana now, Trinidad, Suriname is now in a stage where we will develop the gas and oil industry. So there will be a lot of money coming in the country,
Oh.
and if you are not prepared for that, we will get what we have had in the past, the resource curse with natural resources, and that is worrisome because it will increase the inequality. It will increase the gap between the haves and the have-nots, which is across ethnicities, which is across religions. So we as a critical mass, we must find the formula to, on one hand, protect the harmony, the representation of various groups, including the Hindus and Hindustani and others. And on the other hand, developing a strong foundation for managing the country. Otherwise, we will be, what some people call, it's a trailer society. We will be running after the oil companies, and please come
Yes.
help us, and we will not be able to feed our children.
True, true. I did hear Mr. Ashwinadhin at the World Hindu Congress in 2018, Chicago, I believe. He was the vice president of Suriname. He's also an educator, and he really impressed the audience at that time with his intellect, oration, and conviction for the Hindu cause. Are most Hindu or Indo Surinamese politicians as vocal about the demands and of their religion? You did partly answer that, but yeah, I just wanted to know a little more, delving into taking his example. How do the other politicians fare, the Hindu politicians in Suriname or Guyana? Are they vocal about the Hindu cause?
No, I can't tell a lot about Guyana. I haven't really examined that in depth. But I know about Ashwin because Ashwin and I met Ashwin here at the institute where I'm working in 2011, 2012. It was before he became first the Minister of Education. He was enrolled in a master program, and the professor, well, I would say my professor, I was at the time doing my research within his research chair. So he was the coordinator of that course, and Ashwin was a student then, and it was in 2011 or 2011, yes. And I met Ashwin, and she said, "Yes, we have the World Hindu Congress. You should try to be part of it." I said, "Ashwin, I would love to do, but I have to focus on my PhD right now." But he was very strong about, or he is strong. Um, in his knowledge about Hinduism, and he can speak fluently, I think, Sanskrit and Hindi as well. Not all politicians are like that. I think he is the only one, as far as I can remember. He is the only one. He is so vocal
Okay.
about Hindu philosophy. He is part of a major opposition party right now, the NDP, and the NDP is known, somewhat reputed for its multi-ethnic, multi-religious composition. And recently, the former president, the former chair of that party died, and there Ashwin was standing on the platform, and he was reciting some Hindu verses on the platform for
Okay.
a very, the big stadium, and he was telling the people, mostly non-Indians, the role,
Explaining.
yes, the Hindu part on that. And that was so beautiful. He is
Yes.
no, not many politicians are like that. No, especially not the young ones.
Okay. Yes, yes, because he did come across, and it was very refreshing to see him and hear him. But I wish there were more youngsters like that, also in India. But coming to some lighter topics, you did mention Bollywood dance, and you didn't talk about cricket. I'd like to know, because I know the Caribbean, maybe cricket has a huge influence on the youngsters. You, of course, took to other martial arts, but I would like to know more about cricket and food. Can you tell us a little bit about those very, very interesting aspects of any culture?
Okay, so cricket is not that influential in Suriname. I think it is practiced by some. It is popular in the other parts of the West Indies, especially Guyana. Not that much in Suriname. When it comes to food, oh, we are all there. You will find the masala, the curry all
Okay.
over the country.
Okay. Okay.
So when it comes to food, Hindustani food is very much present.
So you get
We
all the spices. Is it because of the trade? The Dutch also went to Indonesia and Sri Lanka. So the spices are, you get everything in Suriname, or is it indigenous also?
um, okay, so we do not have. No, let me rephrase it. Our cuisine is not the same as the Indian cuisine. So
Okay.
we do use curry, so daily meal in an Indian family. We would have the dal, and but it is not the same dal as India. So we get different peas here, the yellow peas and the green
Yes.
peas. So
Okay.
most times we will have the green or the urdi dal. I don't know if you know the urdi
Yes,
dal.
too. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, yeah. So we have these three categories which are traditionally used, and then you have the meat or the veggies,
Hmm.
and but that is made. It is cooked very lightly. Often it is very lightly. You are just with onion, and I'm telling my nanny's way of cooking. I know
Recipe.
my mommy and my mama. So that's also how I cook. Just onion, garlic, pepper, and sometimes a little bit of tomato sauce
Okay.
or black pepper. And if you have some masala, you put some masala. It is different in the Guyanese because I have a Guyanese mate, and
Okay.
she said if you have the Guyanese, they cook with more spices, they add
Oh,
a bit more oil, they add more masala, they put
and
jeera.
your neighbors, right? But still, there's quite a lot of difference because Guyana and Suriname.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
So you will have differences, of course, across families,
Hmm.
but most times it is straightforward. You have it is lighter than typical Indian cuisine. If we go to an Indian restaurant, and I love Indian food. Oh my god, I love the paneer. I
You like
used to be vegetarian. I used to be
okay.
vegetarian for almost 20 years.
Uh-huh.
But when I got my children, especially when I was pregnant with my eldest, at that time I was the chef de mission of the Surinamese delegation in Tokyo.
Okay.
Oh, the Tokyo Games. So at that time, oh my God, I was craving for meat all of a sudden after 20
So,
years. So I was so reluctant to eat
lot of
meat.
sushi now.
No, no, no. I don't like sushi.
No.
No.
Tempura. Okay.
So we started to have that. I started to eat it gradually, and now I'm like, okay, I'm the
Now you
only
eat
one.
meat also. Okay.
Now
Is
I
it a
eat.
lot of rice in Suriname? Is that the staple rice or is it roti? Wheat or rice?
Staple is rice. Rice.
Rice.
We do have roti. Roti is special.
Okay.
I'm not that good with roti. I know how to roll. I know how to make the dough. Um, but sometimes, or most times, you have a mismatch between the dough and the roti. Sometimes it look like a pizza part, and my husband says,
Okay.
try a few more times, and you will
You
get
can
you will get
test
good
your
at it.
geography with it. I would do that initially when I couldn't do the rounds and circles. Either you put a lid so you get the perfect circle, or you can, study geography with it. It looked like different maps. So you can try that.
Yes.
Coming
No.
to that, sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, I forgot to mention one important part, which is the role of the rituals, the family
Ah,
gatherings.
please.
In the
Yes.
past,
Uh-huh.
when you have weddings, you
Mm,
have murans, or you have birthday celebrations,
mm.
people invite the neighbors and the family to cook. So that's
Oh,
where you learn to, or not learn, you are tested in
you
terms of,
end up
can
cooking.
you roll the roti, can you make the dough, can you fill the dal inside, can you bake it on the plate, and you make the samosa, you fry the different kind of snacks. But
Mm,
that was an informal setting of
mm.
transferring knowledge from the older
Yes.
generation to the youngsters. So that's
Yes.
how I grew up with. But since, I think I would say a decade or maybe more, you have these commercial units, organizations that do
Uh-huh.
the cooking for you.
Like a
And
catering service.
yeah, the
Yeah.
catering service. So sometimes they are official catering, but sometimes they are just individuals. They do not really cater. They just come and they cook.
Okay.
And that has, on one hand, it has made life easier, but on
Mm.
the other hand, it has taken away that informal setting of learning.
And the intergenerational learning, which is the perfect way. You're in the system and then you're learning from elders, which is the
Mm-hmm.
best way. You're so right.
Yes.
But you can teach your children that. Maybe you could start it in your community and your family. And I was curious, Kirti ji, that you mentioned to me Suriname, along with Bhutan and Panama, which I didn't know, are carbon neutral countries. So are Surinamese in general, and Surinamese Hindus in particular, very environmentally conscious and live sustainably? Or how would you explain the fact that they're carbon neutral countries?
Okay, so they are carbon negative, not carbon neutral, because there are
Ah,
more carbon neutral conscious. These are carbon negative, which means that
negative.
they absorb more than they release.
Ah,
But in terms of climate consciousness, I wouldn't say that Hindus are that conscious, because that consciousness is a general problem for the population. But from the ritualistic part,
mm,
I must say that the climate awareness
mm.
is included. I know that every time we have a puja, the pandit tells us you have to balance the various elements, and you have to be careful with nature when you use it. Don't over consume,
Yes.
don't over exploit. Be balanced in everything you eat. Your diet, but also your action must be all balanced. So that balance is a core element of our climate crisis, because we are over consuming. Part of our world is eating too much, is using too much energy, whereas others are deprived. So
Yeah.
that balance is disturbed. While in the Hindu philosophy, in the pujas, and I'm talking about very empirically the ground part,
Mm.
when the pandit comes, or when the pandit holds a service in the Mondays, they talk about that, about our responsibility to maintain that balance.
Yes. Yes, so beautifully said. Absolutely, in Sanatana Dharma, everything is about balance, and we pay back our debts to our ancestors, to the surroundings, to the
True.
deities, and to the neighbors by every day contributing something to each sphere and each section. And to do that, we cannot overconsume. We have to contribute, so we can't overconsume. And that's how each individual does that, and we maintain it. It's so beautiful. One last question, Kirtiji, before I let you go, before we do our Hindi episode or Suriname episode. So, if someone was to come to Suriname, uh, and I would love to, how would you advise them? What is it about the country that you could tell them? Maybe a little bit about Guyana too. I remember that, this is how I would remember the geography. It's in the north of South America, and it is south of West Indies. That's how I should remember it. But
Yep.
apart from that, what can you tell us? Something to attract us there.
Okay, please do come.
I will be
We
very happy to. Yes.
do visit me.
That's the whole point. I have to come there and talk to you in Suriname, maybe.
Yes. But we are a beautiful country. 90, at least 93% on paper. We is forest, so we have an impressive biodiversity, which you would like to experience.
Yes, yes.
The interior, most parts of the interior, they have fresh air. It's so peaceful, and in general, the life
Mm.
in our cultural mosaic is very nice. If you want to visit us, please do participate in the festive periods. For instance, December,
Okay.
we get a lot of tourists from other countries in Suriname during December. Suriname was even awarded by CNN one of the 10 best destinations in the world when it comes to the December festivities. Old Year, New Year, yes, it's very nice. We may complain the whole year, but in December we party. We
Because are you in
party.
the southern hemisphere? Is it cold, or you're in the southern hemisphere, right? So,
No, no, yes, but so Western Hemisphere.
no,
We
as in, is it winter or summer in December for you?
No, we don't have winter and summer seasons.
Oh,
We just have
oh,
tropical climate, but we have some rain and dry seasons.
oh,
We have, yes, yes, yes. And
wow.
yeah, so we do not have winters. Like in December, it's a bit cold. We have some rains, but now it's also confusing because sometimes we have very dry days, sunny days. It's very hot in December, and then in January, I think that's all across the world.
Yes.
When we have this confusion, but in general, we have a tropical climate.
Mm.
So in December, it's a very nice period to come. But you may, especially since you're Hindu, you would like to see how we celebrate Pagwa here. Pagwa is a national holiday. Diwali is a national holiday.
What did you say? Pagwa?
Pagwa, Holi,
Holy. Oh, wow. So, but
yeah,
that's February and March sometime.
March,
So, like, so is that a big festival in Suriname?
yes, yes, yes.
Lovely,
Well,
lovely.
yeah, yes, but it is not strict religious. We have
Yes,
that
yes.
where we have that tension with event organizers here who are exploiting Pagwa or Holi for holding big events where they have dark.
Everywhere. They call it the festival of colors, and then it changes shape
True,
and
true,
tenor. Yeah.
true, and it is
Yes.
creating some tensions with the religious organizations who say that it must be strict religious for observing its significance, etc., etc. But life is changing, so we must find a way to balance.
True.
That's also part of being human, and it's difficult. It's very difficult discussion. But do Phagwa is one, and Diwali is beautiful.
Diwali also. Okay.
Diwali is also beautiful.
Thank you. But since we talked so much, now I have another question, and I promise this will be the last. I was just curious. We were talking about meeting each other, me visiting Suriname. Uh, have you had other interactions in person with Indians from India? And then how has it been? Has there been hesitation in the interaction? Has it been easy? And what is the best way you could suggest for the diaspora and the Indians, the Bharatiyas, to get to know each other?
I think there's a natural click between Indians, whether they are from India or whether from other parts of the world. The moment you see each other, you say, you look Indian. Where are you from? I have seen this at various conferences and platforms when I see people. Oh, when you start to talk, and I like, I'm also Indian. I do understand what you are saying right now, even though I'm not fluent in Hindi. But there is a natural click, especially when you are in a strange atmosphere or in foreign setting. Um, my personal experience is that they are. It depends on the person. I have very good friends in India. Ever since this thing called internet was available, you have these chat programs and friend
Yes.
connection. So some of my friends are from when I was 16 or 17, whereas others I have met at conference. Some of them are still very close friends, and it is like family.
Yes.
It is like family. I met an Indian scholar about 7 8 years ago in South Africa, and we were so familiar. He was there with his students, and he said, "Let's go and explore the area." We were together. We did some adventurous stuff over there, and we were talking in English and Hindi as well, and we visited an Indian restaurant because I'm fond of Indian food. I really love it, and whenever I get a chance to do that, outside Suriname, I do that. So no, 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 no reluctance. No,
Lovely. So
no.
you would just say that it's spontaneous and we don't have to work at it. It'll just happen naturally, is what you're saying.
Yes.
So बहुत 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 धन्यवाद कीर्ति जी for your wonderful insights. Wishing you a very very happy 2025 and happy Phagwa. I wish I could play with you, and throw colors, but at some point it'll happen. And we welcome you to Bharat whenever you can visit. Please do. Namaste, Ram Ram.
Ram, Sitaram. Thank you.